He walked into the courtroom with nothing but hope, clutching a plea that could change his life. But before he could even finish, the judge waved him off, like his words didn't matter, like he didn't matter. A black boy standing against a system too powerful, too dismissive, too ready to silence him. But what happened next, no one expected, because the very law meant to crush him became the weapon he used to fight back. How did a boy, dismissed as powerless, end up outsmarting the very judge who shut him down? Before that day in court, he was just another boy, quiet, determined, and far too young to carry the weight of injustice on his shoulders. He grew up in a small neighborhood where every step felt like a reminder of what he didn't have. But what he did have was a fierce love for learning. Books became his escape, and the law, his secret weapon. To most, he was invisible, just another kid who wouldn't be heard. But that was about to change. Because when he finally stood in front of the judge, the world would see just how much he knew and how dangerous that knowledge could be. The moment his case was called, the boy stepped forward, clutching his papers with trembling hands. His heart pounded, not just from nerves, but from the weight of being seen, not as a child with a voice, but as a black boy in a courtroom that had already decided who he was. The judge barely looked at him, her eyes skimming over the documents before waving him off, dismissing his plea like it was nothing more than a distraction. The room grew colder. Whispers spread across the benches, some mocking, others indifferent. He stood there, frozen, watching his chance slip away. The very place meant to protect justice now felt like a cage built to silence him. Every second of dismissal carved deeper into the reality he already knew. His words, his effort, his truth didn't matter here. But what the judge didn't see, what no one expected, was that this boy had studied. Every night, by the dim light of a borrowed lamp, he had pored over books most adults wouldn't touch. Statutes, precedents, amendments. He carried them in his mind like armor. And now, as the courtroom turned its back on him, he tightened his grip on that knowledge. The judge leaned back, ready to move on, certain the boy would retreat in silence. But instead, he took a step forward. His voice, shaky at first, began to rise. Not with anger, but with undeniable precision. He spoke of rights that had been overlooked, of laws that protected him, of truths buried beneath years of prejudice. Each word seemed to land heavier than the last, forcing heads to turn, forcing silence to fall. Still, the resistance was there. The judge's face hardened, the gavel slammed, but the boy didn't back down. He had opened a door, and behind it was a storm that could no longer be ignored. Because what he revealed wasn't just his defense, it was an indictment of the very system standing against him. And in that moment, as the tension reached its breaking point, one question lingered in the air. Would the system crush him for daring to speak, or would his courage finally break through its walls? The gavel cracked like thunder, silencing the room. The judge's voice cut sharp, accusing him of disrespect, of daring to speak beyond his place. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as the boy's face flushed, but his words didn't falter. With every breath, he cited laws that had been ignored, rights that had been trampled, and truths that the court had chosen to bury. For a moment, it felt as if the entire system had turned against him, every eye narrowed, every whisper laced with disbelief. He was just a boy, a black boy standing alone, daring to defy the authority that had already marked him as less. The weight of centuries pressed down on his shoulders, reminding him that people like him weren't supposed to win here. But he refused to bow. His voice rose louder, steadier, fueled by the fire of injustice. Each statute he quoted was like a blade cutting through the silence, leaving even the judge momentarily shaken. The courtroom, once so sure of its outcome, now sat in uneasy stillness. For the first time, the power shifted, not through anger, not through violence, but through undeniable truth. And yet, as his final words echoed against the walls, the air grew heavy with uncertainty. Would the judge admit what everyone had just witnessed, that this boy had proven her wrong? Or would she bury the truth beneath the weight of her gavel, crushing him beneath the very system he had dared to challenge? When the echoes of his words finally faded, the courtroom sat in stunned silence. The judge, once so certain of her authority, could no longer deny what had unfolded before her. She had dismissed him as nothing, but he had forced the truth into the open. Though she never admitted it outright, her hesitation, her silence, was proof enough. For one brief moment, the boy had cracked the walls of a system built to keep him silent. He left that courtroom with no trophies, no headlines, no applause. But he walked out with something far greater, proof to himself and to everyone watching that knowledge and courage can expose even the deepest injustice. His fight was not just his own. It was a mirror reflecting the battles so many face every day, in courtrooms, on streets, in schools, in workplaces. Because this was never just about one boy. It was about a system that too often decides who matters and who does not. And it was about the power of refusing to be silent, even when the world tells you to sit down. So the question remains, how many more voices must be dismissed before they are finally heard? And how long will we allow injustice to hide behind the very laws meant to protect us?